I want to make it in clear language so everybody understands. When it's a seller's market, the sellers can actually ask whatever they want. So they can, I mean, obviously not crazy prices, but you have a lot of buyers and you have very low inventory. So let's say I put my house on the market and there's nobody else in the neighborhood that's selling currently, but I know, and this is actually what's happening right now. This is a seller's market. So I have been helping my buyer clients make offers or not make offers because there's 29 offers on a property. This is crazy. Like, so the other question too that I get is, how can you win a bidding war like that? That's insane. So let's just say, and I'm not going to go into that much detail because that's not the question today, but let's just say somebody does have to win. And if you're working with a good agent in whatever market, they'll know how to be strategic about it and win that bidding war. But you have to be able to be flexible as a buyer. So let's just go back to that. So a seller's market means you put your price at a certain number. There's strategy to list the house too when you're in that situation. A lot of buyers. So seller's market again. We should have titles. Seller's market. Seller's market means you can put your price whatever because you have lots of buyers,
but not enough houses, right?
Not enough houses, low inventory. And there's also a formula too. And if you want, at the end, I will go through some statistics as to, like today, real time, what's going on in the GTA. So just remind me about that.
Colette, so why are we in a seller's market right now during the pandemic? What's happening? Tell me.
That's a great question. I love that question. Well, the other thing too about being in a seller's market is that the Bank of Canada likes to play with our emotions. So what they've done is they've put billions of dollars into keeping the interest rates very, very low. They're historically low. So when you have this perfect storm of not a lot of inventory, lots of buyers, you know, people thinking, okay, like I see the growth, 10%, 12%, 22% in some areas outside of the GTA, because people are going a little bit nuts. Like they're maybe thinking, I don't really love my home in this pandemic. I want a pool. I want more of an outdoor space. I want to move out of the city because I don't want to be around so many people. So it's been this kind of perfect storm that we weren't like as real estate agents, we weren't expecting to see this. So anybody who has these, you know, outside properties in smaller, you know, not urban communities, they're seeing huge growth. So I was just reading an article, you can look it up on Toronto Life, about a property that sold for 1 point something million. It's right on the, it's in Wasaga Beach. And oh my God, it's insane. Like just absolutely, it's like less than 1,000 square foot house.
Yeah.
So
wow.
Why anybody would do that? It's just this kind of, you know, lifestyle. It's really, no matter what market you're in, it's location, location, location. I say it to my buyers all the time. Sometimes a buyer will come to me and say, I could either be here, I could be here, I could be there, or maybe I like this area. I go, listen, you have to figure it out by you have to have some kind of criteria when you're looking at a house. And that goes for anybody, even a foreign investor. If you want to say, okay, listen, this, let's say GTA has grown every year, let's say whatever the number is, by 20% every year. I still can't guarantee, nobody can guarantee that the growth will keep happening year after year. Once the pandemic is over, what's going to happen to all those places that...
Absolutely. I just wanted to say something on that and the growth of it. So a lot of people think that putting their money into real estate versus putting it into the market will get them better returns. But what happens is that if you buy the property, so the buying or the price of buying, it's 100,000. Well, you're not going to buy anything for 100,000, but
no, you'll put 100 down.
Yeah, for numbers' sakes, if you're buying a property that costs 500,000, and the following year it's appraised at 550, right? You say, oh my God, it gave $50,000, which just seems like a 10% difference. But you also have to think about all of the expenses that you have to go through during that year.
Right.
Which is your property taxes, your insurance, all your maintenance fees, anything that you need to repair in the house, it has to be deducted from that, because that's a cost that is going during the year. So yeah, it seems like a lot of money in terms of a selling price versus selling price 5 or 10 years later, but you also have to calculate what is it that you spend during that year in order to maintain that property.
Right.
So.
Well, and that's the other thing too that I always, you know, not argue, but it's this thing that you and we agree on that, in the sense where if you want to be a silent investor, real estate is not for you.
No.
You can't, even if you're, if you want to be a landlord, or even if you want to buy, you know, a condo and you want to assign it later before you take title, like stuff like that. Yeah, there's, you know, there are ways to be more silent. If you want to still invest in real estate. But ultimately, I get this question all the time from first-time buyers, which is chicken and the egg kind of scenario. Do I buy an income property first, or do I buy a house that I can live in first? What's more important? So, you know, to build my own personal wealth, sort of thing. So that's a really it's a trick question, because I know we're getting off topic, but it's one of those things where you have to see for yourself what's important to you. And if you really have the numbers, so let's say I rent in Canada, but I want to buy a US property because the prices are so good and the return is so good. I can't get that return in the GTA. So that's a whole other question for another day. But
that's correct. So
it's a good question, right?
Let me answer a little bit of that.
Sure.
First of all, you got to be aware of where your finances are, because in some cases it makes sense to have something that you may have to be paying something, but at the end you're going to get more if you're buying in the GTA. But it all depends on your finances, how stable your job is, or if you have a business for yourself that is already established, that is creating enough of profits that you can put that into real estate and don't worry about, you know, the price fluctuation. Also, if you don't have a tenant as well, that you can maintain that. So there's many things. Your age is also a factor, because obviously the younger we are, maybe we have maybe we have a student debt.
Sure.
Right? Or we're just getting started, which is more costly, or you're just getting started with a job, right?
Right.
So all of those things affect your decision. But let's say if you got an inheritance, that is a totally different ballpark. So you got to really understand where you are and how quickly you want to get to, you know, your financial wealth.
Right. And this is the thing that it's always like, my answer to that is always do both. So if you can buy a property that you can live in, because there's value in that, right? You can buy yourself a property that you can live in. There's so much, you know, value in that. But if you can rent out a portion of the house, let's say, or even another bedroom in an apartment or things like that, or condo. So like you get the best of both worlds to help you out financially, because things happen like COVID where you may lose your job. And then what are you going to do? So at least, you know, a portion of the mortgage will be paid by that tenant.
Yeah, absolutely. You know,
and
what?
It doesn't have to be forever. You could just have a tenant for a few years to get by.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely. That's awesome. Okay, so let's go back to it.
Yes.
So we have a seller's market in this time because there's very few houses listed. So therefore you can name your price if that's what you want.
Right.
And things are selling really quickly. I'm also very amazed at the market in the States. I just put a house for sale, and this house needs to be repaired.
Yeah.
And I got 18 offers.
Wow. Because people are bored. They want to renovate. I don't know.
I was very, very surprised because I put the price high. I still got a higher price.
That's excellent.
Offers, like really, really crazy.
And then didn't you just tell me too, your agent on another house said, don't worry about it, it's totally going to sell? Like you were worried about it not selling?
Well, of course I was worried because I've seen sometimes houses that don't sell for months, right? And they sit there. And I was thinking, oh my God, should I repair it a little bit or should I leave it like that? And she said, no, She's actually a genius. This woman has been in the business for 30 years.
Wow.
In the area. So she knows it very well. She has a lot of contacts, and she helped me out a lot. So it's
Good.
also, so this house it went out in less than a month. It was fantastic. So
Awesome. Yeah. And that's the other thing too, know your market. So there are lots of markets where you don't need to stage the house. The house is land value. Like there's no value in the house. It's where it is. It's the location.
exactly.
Of where it is. Yeah. So people they're just happy to have that location, and they'll, it'll go crazy. And a lot of places in the GTA now too, these small bungalows are being torn down. So nobody cares about the staging and how nice the house looks inside.
Yeah,
they
because
want
they're
the
going
bones.
to
Yeah, either they're going to totally gut the place, or they're going to tear it down totally and build a different house. So that's something that, talking to a local agent to get that idea on, what am I going to do here? Do I spend the money on staging? Do I spend the money on painting?
Yeah.
Who cares? Does anybody care? Do I really need to? Condos, I think, hands down, you have to stage it, because people don't want dated. Like even the smallest thing that you can do sorry, I keep talking with my hands. The smallest thing that you can do, the easiest thing and the best thing to do is paint.
Paint. Yeah.
So
paint.
even when you look at our backgrounds on Zoom, all the rooms are white or gray, like neutralize. You want to that's what people see all day long on Instagram, on any other social media, in magazines. Everything is the most part, everything is neutralized. Everything is painted white to sell, because that's the brightest and lightest color that you can make the house, and change your lighting in the house too. That's
the house looks bigger.
Yeah. Who doesn't want that,
and
right?
It looks clean, bigger.
Clean.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. So now buyer's market. So buyer's market is when, you have all these, few buyers, and a lot of stuff comes on the market. So that was a few years ago when the US market tanked, if you want to talk about that. But let's just say what happens
I'll tell you a little bit about after you finish.
Yeah. So what that means is there's a lot on the market, not a lot of buyers, because either and again, it's a perfect storm in the reverse. So the mortgage rates are high. You have people that are terrified of what's going to happen. You have these ups and highs and lows in the market. And when you don't have a lot of buyers and the mortgage rates are so high, and you have a lot on the market, a lot of inventory, you have every other house, well, maybe not every other house, but a lot that people can go and pick and choose the house they want. There's no multiple offers. Say, you know what, I want to buy this house for under asking, under list price. This is what happens with the buyer's market. Buyers have the opportunity to get a deal. We haven't seen a buyer's market in a very long time. Maybe little pockets here and there.
Since 2014, I tell you, because the house that I bought, it was on the market for 6 months. Right. And they were almost getting ready to take it off the market. And I went in there and I made a low offer, and I got it because there was no other buyer.
Right.
So I really got lucky in that regards. And I'm telling you lucky because at that time I wasn't as savvy as I am today about real estate. Yeah. So I just basically got lucky.
Right. Well, and that's the interesting thing too, that when you really, you have, this is the thing that I always tell, oh my gosh, everybody. I want to tell everybody, don't think that you have to know everything. You have, like, do you fix your own car? Do you cut your own hair? Do you go to court and represent yourself? No, like, why aren't you asking us professionals for assistance? Like, this is what my job is. Do you know how many clients apologize for bothering me? I go, no, you're not bothering me. I love it. I want you to tell me everything. I want you to share with me. Like, give me your questions. I'm hungry to answer them. I will, I want to be your advocate. I love what I do. And if you're scared or you're trepidatious or whatever it is, even about finances, this is what we're here for. We love our job.
Yeah, there's so many things that are very convoluted in finances as well.
Yeah.
And believe me, a lot of people, they say, well, that we have the internet. But the internet is not going to personalize things for you. They're going to tell you what a life insurance is, but they are not going to tell you if this is the right one for you. So all of
Right.
those things, you always need to have somebody that is analyzing and making an assessment of your current situation to let you know which one is the best one for you.
Right. Right. Well, so if you're following me on Instagram, I just did a post, I don't know, yesterday or the day before. I don't know where my phone is. Anyway, what it was a picture of a house, a side of a house. So it looked
Yeah,
like
I was
somebody
going to ask you about that.
yeah, did you see that? So I won't get into it too much, but there was somebody that put in a side entrance for a basement apartment. And there are so many things wrong with that. But to the naked eye, if you, even with realtors, you know, we're not inspectors. I was just thinking about that this morning where when I go to, you know, when I did my real estate license, my schooling, they really didn't get into house structure very much, very, very little. So, you know, to say to someone as an agent, do you know what kind of construction that is? Is that double brick construction? Is that, you know, what age is the house? Like there's all these things that structurally you should know, because if you have an option of 2 houses or 3 houses or 5, whatever it is, every house is going to be different. And as the older it gets, the more difficult it is to find out what's going on behind the walls, because everybody gets their fingers in there and starts like doing stuff, you know, DIYers.
Yeah.
And it's hard to assess if those renovations were done correctly unless you have the paperwork, unless you ask the right questions, unless you hire an inspector to say, what's going on here? Can you tell me, even if it's just my opinion or the home inspector's opinion of what's going on? It's pretty accurate because we know just by the little, you know, whatever you want to call it, like the little things that the house tells you, you have to see what's going on behind the walls. So for example, this side entrance, when you put a side entrance in, you can't just put a door in. You have to tie it to the weeping tile underneath, because the rain will hit that door and go into the foundation. You have to do those things. If I don't see that, and you can see by the picture, this is the biggest problem. I mean, there's other problems in that picture, but that's the biggest problem. And when I don't like to scare people, but if I say I wouldn't buy the house because of X, Y, and Z, that's how I say it to my clients. You want the headache? You want an extra 40 grand? You want an extra 10 grand? You want an extra 100 grand? Like, I can't pinpoint exactly how much it's going to cost you, but you got to remedy those things right away. And guess what? Houses like that are going into multiples because of the shiny, nice, the stuff, the staging stuff. The house looked great inside. Beautiful house. But you have bigger problems.
That is one of the things. It's like putting makeup on, right?
Yeah.
So
right.
You look
what are you trying to say, Araceli?
No, I'm not trying to say
What's
anything.
What's behind? Yeah. No, that's exactly it. Right.
That's exactly it. Actually, my business partner, Tim, he always says that you put lipstick on a pig.
Yeah. Oh, I love that saying. I love it.
I always laugh every time he says that.
But I want the pig to do a couple laps around the neighborhood. So he's healthy inside. Yeah. No,
okay, so I want to go back to the buyer's market.
Yes. Okay.
So what happens? What is the economy status?
Well, okay, and this is the thing too. So everybody always asks me, "Oh, what's going to happen? What's going to happen?" I'm like, "Listen, I don't have a crystal ball anywhere around in my office. You know, I can ask my magic 8-ball, hey, what's the, you know, is the market going to turn better? Yeah, you know, I don't do that. That's crazy." So what we can do is look at statistics, and COVID has just put everybody in a tizzy because we don't know what's coming. We have no idea. And I mean, on a normal day when there is a normal, you know, we have those highs and lows. Spring market is always good. This year, it was terrible. It was a summer market. I've never been so busy in my life in the summer. So like things like that, we have to kind of be flexible with that. But it's been really good in the sense that people haven't stopped buying. So I think it is really low inventory. It's getting better, especially with condos, because condos, so that's the interesting thing. People are actually getting out of their condos to buy houses because the market's so low, but also the rent is going down. So renters, because there's a flood on the market now, those condo, you know, people who are selling the condos, they might be selling it because they can't get renters. Or, you know, in the general scheme of things, everybody's moving out. I can't say everybody, but a lot of people are moving out of out of Toronto,
Well,
out
the
into
thing is,
the.
it's just getting so unaffordable.
Well, it's unaffordable, but also crowded. And people think if I can buy a house like out in Ajax, or I can buy a house in wherever, even a smaller community outside like Newmarket. Newmarket's big. It's really grown, but it's something that if I can buy a house for the amount that I'm paying for my condo plus my maintenance fees, I'm going to buy a house because I can now work from anywhere. That my employer has said,
Yeah.
go out and work from home. So this is the thing.
The only issue that I see with that is that if you don't have the down payment, it just limits you.
Of
And
course.
down payments are not a little bit. It's a lot of money that you need to put, even for the minimum down payment. If you're a first home buyer, then you can still buy with 5%.
Right.
It's very it made it very unaffordable for a lot of people, right?
Right.
Because if you still have to save that money, and I'm talking about 100,000 minimum, you know, if you're going to buy something.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It is really making it affordable. It's very harder to put together that money. And I'm telling you, because when I bought my house in 2014, I could not believe it that I paid. The only thing that I needed is $11,000.
Yeah.
It was like.
Yeah. Why wouldn't they? Right. Why didn't more people buy houses at that point? But that's always been, I mean, I remember, you know, buying my first house, I don't know how many years ago now, like 20 plus years. It was still a struggle. It was still a lot of money. So, you know, even depending on how much you know, how much you make versus how much the property is worth.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that, you know, I think the economy is the way it is. We have no control over it. I hate to say it that way, but the government really controls that. And also the Bank of Canada controls that, because they're the ones telling us, yeah, it's okay. You know, it's great. Go, it's like so cheap to borrow money. Go ahead, borrow money and go buy houses, because they have to keep that economic stimulation going. I mean, like, this is the thing that when people are out of jobs, people are not spending money. Shops are closing. How many restaurants have closed down?
Yeah.
How many, like, how many big stores have closed too, the big name brands too that have closed down, because they know Canada is different than the US. We don't have the population that the US does have. Mm-hmm. So it all kind of trickles down, or I don't know, maybe it trickles up, or you know what I mean? Like the housing market, because it's such a huge purchase, everybody looks to the market, the real estate market, to say, what's the rest of the economy looking like in the future? So that's,
Colette, so do you think that this buyer's market is going to continue on for a while, or do you think that, you know, eventually we're going to go into
where's my crystal ball?
Yeah, sorry, the seller's market. We're in the seller's market right now.
Right.
And are we going into a buyer's market?
Well, I think first what happens is we go into a balanced market. So, you know, the mortgage rates might go up a little bit.
Is there any indications that we can see that there's a balanced market?
Yeah, of course. And, you know, you can always call me and ask me too. Like, and the most important thing to ask is, when should I buy? And that's the hard part to answer, because there's no bad time to buy. There may be worse times to sell, but a house will always sell. It depends on what your expectations are.
Yeah.
So if you think your house is worth $1 million, but everybody else in the neighborhood is selling for 500, it doesn't matter if it's going to be a seller's market. It's just, it's not going to happen.
You're not going to be able to sell it. That's
it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
It might be more than 500, you know, based on statistics. But that's the other thing too. When buyer agents go in, that's the first thing I look at, is what else is selling, you know, the last even 3 months of what sold in the neighborhood in the, you know, similar size of house, similar lot size, similar bedrooms, that sort of thing. So let me give you a couple statistics. So, and this is something that you can easily look at through TREB, which is Toronto Real Estate. Maybe not. I'm not sure if you can. Sorry, it's Toronto Regional Real Estate Board now. They've added the regional. I don't know why. It used to be TREB, T-R-E-B. Anyway, so I'll just read you the statistics. If you go to trreb.ca, you can look up market statistics anytime. So they do this every month. And this is for everybody who wants to see it. So let me just tell you some statistics. So sales and average price by major home type detached homes in the 416 area was 1,000. So this was just in August. 1,099. In the 905 area, detached houses were over 4,000 houses. Okay, the average price for a house in the 416 was 1.505 100. Okay, so over $1.5 million. The 905 average price for a detached home was over $1 million, but $1,088,000. So less than 1.1 million. Okay. You know what? Statistics are so hard to sort of, try and figure everything out. But this is the thing. A semi-detached house in the 416 sold for over $1 million. In the 905, a semi-detached house sold for over 700, almost 800,000. So we're talking about crazy, crazy prices. So year-over-year percentage change for the 416 for detached home, year-over-year is 65%. For the 905, a detached home is 47.3%. So we're talking huge, huge, crazy growth. A condo, let's just go through condos, shall we? So a condo, they had over 1,500 sales. The average selling price, and this is average prices. Okay, so this is the thing too, but for condos specifically, $673,000. The average price for the 905 condo was $540,000. Just to give you some kind of perspective, I bought my house in South Mississauga 10 years ago for less than the average 905 condo that's selling today. So. And
you have a detached house, right?
I have a detached house. I don't know how many square foot, like maybe about under 1,400 square feet. So it's a big house. But this is the thing that, like, people talking about growth, you and I both agree that when you say, okay, you invest in property and it should grow, it should double in the GTA. This is the technical statistic, right? Of saying, okay, if I buy my house at 500,000 in 10 years, I should expect it to grow by double. So I should be able to sell it in 10 years for $1 million. Because the crazy growth in the GTA, it has more than doubled in the last 10 years. So this is the thing about looking at a price to say, should I buy it in a seller's market or a buyer's market? I can't have, it makes me crazy to think that people want to wait for something better. The little difference that it's going to make, if it's going to turn into a balanced market, the balanced market means that there's enough buyers and enough sellers. The mortgage rates are still good, but also at the same time, it means that there is enough inventory for everybody.
Yeah, so there's not that much of a
gap, right? You're not going to have 30
wars going on.
Right. But you also still need a strategy to really think about, what do I want to do in that kind of market. I don't ever recommend people go into a bidding war with 30 other buyers. That's crazy. I don't want my buyers to overspend. But then again, if the listing price is so underpriced anyway, then you're willing to pay $100,000 more for that house because that's really what it's worth. So agents, I'm guilty of that too, because I want to get multiple offers on my properties, and the strategy actually works out. But not to put it down that low, like $100,000 difference. All you need is 2 offers to have this bidding war.
Yeah, that's
but when it's 30,
true. But
the price is too low.
I think the most important thing for this is, we're not saying buy in a seller's market, buy in a buyer's market.
Yeah.
But it is when you need to buy. And that is a different thing. And it depends on your lifestyle. It depends on your family lifestyle. It
Right.
depends on your finances. It depends on, maybe your family is growing.
Yeah.
Maybe you have parents that are coming from overseas and are staying with you. There's many, many different reasons why people need to upgrade or downgrade, and that it will trigger a purchase or a sale.
Right.
So you got to understand where you are, but most likely everything goes back to money.
Right.
You need to
Always.
figure out where you are financially, and see if that is the right move for you, whether it's a seller's market or a buyer's market.
Right. Well, and that's the other thing too, that, to talk to people about, what do I do? It is so much about lifestyle, and it's so much about, COVID, I'm sorry to go back to that, but really I'm still waiting for all these people to run out of money to have to put their house on the market. Where are these people? Like, I'm waiting. I want to sell your house, please. Like, I hate to say it that way, because I don't want people to actually be out of a job. But this is the thing with our economy. If this is something that, people are really talking about, COVID being such a detriment to the economy, it hasn't hit the real estate market yet.
Yeah. Because
where are those people going to go? Are they going to rent a condo? If they're going to rent something? So even if I bought my house, let's say 5 years ago, and again, it's all about money. If I only have, let's say I'm paying $2,000 on my mortgage, I can't rent an apartment for $2,000 in the GTA. So that's the weird economic thing, where if you do have to sell your house, I want you to be safe. Everybody wants you to be okay, but where are you going to go? And what's the best financial move?
That's why you have to get, like, if you think that you're going to be running out of money, or you're already dipping into your savings,
you
need to talk to somebody to
put
something together for you, and see, because if you wait until the very last minute, then you don't have much options, and time is always against you. So
right.
So try to look at that into kind of like proactive way.
Right. And the other thing too about COVID is I've had a few clients that are going through separation. And I think that you have as well, where people have said, listen, even though it's COVID, I still don't want to be with this person. I don't want to live with them anymore. So I need to, not because of COVID, I'm sure there was problems before that. But, we both really support, especially women who are going through separation, because with finances, it's very tricky. And it's not easy to split from somebody that, especially if you're financially reliant on them. Well, but it can be done.
Oh yeah, it can be done. But in some cases, Colette, I'm telling you, some people, even before COVID, they still stayed together because it was not financially possible to separate.
Right.
And sometimes it does really put a lot of stress on people, because if you don't want to live with that person, now what are you going to do? Maybe you didn't have enough money, all of that thing, but it has to, like, you got to understand your position. And I think that's what most people run away from, learning where they are. Because if you know where they are, then you can make a plan to go somewhere. Right. But if you don't know, you're just going to be running around in circles, getting nowhere.
Right.
So understand your financial position, and that from there you can go anywhere. Believe me, it is.
I actually said to somebody recently, I said, like, home buying is like dating. Like, you have to really, like, don't settle for living here or living there just because it's like, oh, that's all I can afford. No, just, you need patience. You need to, like, go on a couple dates, but same thing with finances, right? Like, you really need to figure out where you want to be and have a goal and say, yes, this is what I want. And then you go from there. And that's where we can both help you with that. Like, I don't want anybody to feel alone. Like, remember we were talking yesterday about that one client where, the person that referred her to me was saying she was a different person after.
Absolutely. Even just talking to somebody, giving you a different perspective. Right. Because what happens is when you're stressed out in a difficult situation, whether it's divorce or you have to sell, anything like that, people don't see a lot of options. And the reason is because I think it's scientific, because the stress actually,
Oh yeah.
it avoids you to
Huge.
think properly.
Yes.
So when you're talking to somebody that is not directly involved in the
Yeah.
situation,
Yeah.
but it has gone through something similar, it might give you a different perspective. Things that, you know, I wish somebody told me when I was getting divorced, you know.
Yeah.
Things
It's
like
having
that.
an advocate. It's having somebody on your side to say, okay, look, I don't know what I'm going to do here, because I'm just beside myself. I don't know what I can fight. I don't know if I can. And you know what? And this is the thing too, that lawyers you spend a lot of money on lawyers going through separation or divorce, but it's also, there are other people out there. There are divorce coaches too, which I just learned about. So like all these people. So even if, you know, part and parcel, you need somebody for financing, talk to Araceli. If you need somebody real estate, talk to me. We have a free, no obligation, you know, conversation to see where you're at, to help you get to where you want to be. And then we'll go from there. We're not out to, you know, sell. That's not who we are, but we do want to be your advocate, and we're funny too.
Yeah. Yeah, we try to have fun as
yes,
much
we
as
try and
possible.
have fun as it. Yes.
Okay, so
yes.
let's summarize. So seller's market is when there is a lot of not a lot of inventory, but lots of buyers.
The seller, seller's market means the seller gets the benefit.
Correct. So in that case, if you are selling your property, you might be able to ask for a higher price.
Right.
Because there's lots of people buying.
Right.
In a buyer's market is the opposite. Right. So you have less buyers.
The buyer gets to sit there and say, what are my options?
Yeah,
I can
exactly.
go and look around and see. I'm not a smoker, but I just like, you know.
And you would be able to get possibly a better price if it is a buyer's market. And in a balanced market, you have about the same buyers, the same sellers, right?
Right.
So the price would be fair for everybody, right?
Yes.
So if you need to decide whether you're selling or not, talk to one of us and see if you're unsure about your situation. Let us know and see if we can put a different perspective of what it is that you want to accomplish. Yeah. Whether it's Colette or myself, we'll be happy to talk to you and see if there's anything that we can just give you an idea of what to do. Okay.
Right. And you know what? I hope my broker's not listening, because I tell people all the time, don't sell. Wait.
Yeah.
So
sometimes
I hope my broker's they're going to be so mad at me.
Exactly. Sometimes you have to do that. And the same with me. Like sometimes I don't want to put people in a different position.
Right.
Because especially people that don't have a budget, they don't know where their money is going. I always emphasize to make a budget, take a look at what is happening today, and see if there's anything that we can do to make that money grow somewhere else. If we can reroute that money. So it's important. Yeah. Okay, so with that, we're going to end up this episode. And I hope that you got enough information. If you do have, or you want more information about the seller markets or buyer markets, give us a call or give
and keep the questions coming. Keep the questions coming.
Absolutely.
So on the 30th, I think we're doing that.
The 30th, we're going to answer all the questions that we got during the month. Okay.
Yes, get those questions in.
Okay. Thank you so
much. Have a good day, everybody.
See you next week.
Bye.